Hello, welcome back to Art in Your Everyday. I don't know what's going on with my hair, but we're gonna ignore that today. Okay, so I want to make studded wrist cuffs because I saw some at the store and I wanted them, but I didn't have the money for them. So I have a lot of these little super short square studs. I don't know if you can see that just come to like a little point, and I can't remember what I got them for, but I have so many of them. And then I also cut the bottom off of a jean jacket vest just when I was going through my closet the other day. So I'm gonna use this part of it, not this extra fabric. If you're wanting to replicate me, I would use something like this with the jean. The reason also that I like this is that there's already a button and a hole. Now, obviously this is like way too big for my wrist, but I'm gonna see maybe if I can like wrap it around twice. That might be cool. Or I'll just cut this part and make a new hole because it doesn't have to be like a perfectly sewn hole. So I've cut all the excess off of this, and now I have a buttonhole and then a button and this extra flap. So I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna leave this on or if I'm gonna try and seam rip it off. I don't know. So as much as I think that the double over, just forget this is here, could look cool, I think with the studs, it's not gonna look very cool. And it's just, I think it's gonna be really sweaty, to be honest with you. So I'm just gonna cut a new hole for this button, and I am gonna cut this tab off. Also, if you are replicating this, when you're cutting close to the seam, you have to make sure that you don't cut either end of the seam because you don't want the actual body of this to fray. And then also, this is a tube, so it'll open the tube and will not be good. You would just have to sew it back shut. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it's just annoying. So I will have to probably sew around the edge of this. I should have left a little bit more room, but you live and you learn. So I'm gonna sew an edge around this later. All right, so I seam ripped this little flap off because it would avoid cutting open this tube, but also I didn't wanna just cut this off and have like a big ridge here. So now I'm gonna cut this down to size. Okay, so I've cut it down to size. I have made a little hole and I've cut the ends to be this kind of like house barn shape. I don't know what this would be called, but it looks like a barn to me. Now I'm gonna sew the ends and this hole to just lock in the fraying and everything. I don't mind the look of a little fraying, but I don't want it structurally to be super bad. Also, in order to make this hole, I just stuck my seam ripper in and made the hole because I didn't want to risk cutting too far with my scissors because I have 100% done that before. Okay, so I'm using embroidery thread because it's thicker, but the nice thing about this being a tube, the nice thing about this being a hollow tube is that you can hide your knot inside of it. So instead of going through both layers first, just go through the one layer. I'm trying not to stab myself. And then your knot is in between the two layers. You can just tuck your little tail in there and then sew around it, and you don't have a knot on either side. This is far from my neatest sewing ever. I also realized I cut this kind of wonky, but it'll be underneath, so it's fine. And I don't know if you can see the uneven sewing. I think it matches the aesthetic of the rest of the kind of frayed look. All right, I am all done with the sewing of the buttonhole, the end. Again, not the most neat thing I've ever sewn in my life, but it serves its purpose, and that's all I'm concerned about. Also, I'm thinking that I might eventually dye this black. We'll see. I don't have any black dye right now though, so it won't happen soon. The way that these work are you stick them in and then you bend. There's these little prongs. I think the lighting here is awful right now, so you can't really see, but there's these prongs that you bend over. Oh my God. Once you stick it through the fabric. All right, I'm all done putting the studs on. It looks so cute. I'm in the back, but I used the end of my seam ripper to push the notches all the way in. So as you can see, there are little dents in the fabric, so I won't actually feel the metal on my wrist. Here is the finished product. I'm so excited with how it turned out. I think it looks so cool. I'm gonna make another one for my other wrist, but here is where I leave you today. So much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you haven't done something creative today, go and do something creative. Bye.